this is interesting for donors in the room. We had one donor, one family foundation that took the risk on us at a very early stage. They gave us $250,000 to set up this apparatus, to kind of architect this model of grassroots distribution, and it paid off. We've now done 10,000 such screenings at schools across North America and the world. 12 different films. We've had 300,000 people participate in overnight awareness events, 1.2 million hours volunteered. We worked with Congress to pass 2 bills that we got to witness President Obama sign. The Secretary General of this institution has made 3 statements about the LRA. It has come a long ways. At the same time, we're millennials, and so we want the world to change in 10 minutes. And we think it should. And so we started thinking, okay, there's a rebel army that's abducting kids in Central Africa. What can we do about that ourselves? Is there anything we can do? Is there anything as just individuals driven by a belief and a passion that no one should have to go through that? What could we do? This is a map of the LRA affected region. You're in northern Congo there at the bottom. You're in the southeastern Central African Republic. Up near the top is actually where likely the Kony camp itself is. And we said, well, we probably can't march into Kony's camp directly, but what we can do is get messages in, truth campaigns, encouraging LRA members to safely escape and come home. So we've now set up 8 FM radio stations that are broadcasting these messages into the LRA, both to overcome the brainwashing, the fear-based lies that keep people there, and then also giving information on how to come out. That wasn't enough, so we started distributing flyers, literally dropping them over known LRA encampments. This is done in partnership with the UN and the U.S. Special Forces. And then we would use individuals, this gentleman on the left, who found one of those flyers and decided, I want to escape, I'm done fighting, I want to come home. We would put him in a flyer. So notice the color on the last one, pink. He got one of those, boom. We put a flyer in a flyer, it's like meta flyers, and then we show on the back in local languages where they can actually defect and how they can escape and come home. When that's not enough, we've actually purchased helicopter-mounted tactical speakers and fly specific tactical helicopter missions above known LRA groups. All that has created the largest defection strategy in the history of the conflict. Now we have almost full coverage between the FM work, the flyer drops, the helicopter speakers, and our HF network. We've seen incredible results. 3 times as many defections of long-term combatants in the last year than the previous 3 years combined. I'm telling you all that actually as a precursor to I get to this campaign, which was the name of the talk, and was the most visible thing we've ever done. This was our most recent campaign, March of last year, Kony 2012. And it was made under the urgent belief that now is the time. You know, of all of the issues that we've talked about the last 2 days, of our 8-year journey with the LRA, I think all of us get to these points where we're like, this needs to stop. This needs to end. Justice needs to prevail. This was our moment. And we made that case to the world through a 29-minute film that we loaded on YouTube. And it was the story of our 10-year journey of discovering this conflict, doing everything we could in our power to work with communities to see it come to an end. And we loaded it on YouTube, and 6 days later, 100 million people had seen it from virtually every country on planet Earth. It was the fastest growing viral video in the history of the internet. And it was a 29-minute film about a rebel conflict in Central Africa, something that experts in the media would tell you was impossible. But interestingly, it shows a number of things, 1,000 things. I mean, we can talk for hours about this, but one of the things it shows is how social media campaigns can be effective. So 1 month after this, President Obama is back on the record speaking about the LRA and extending the United States commitment. 2 months after it, the Secretary General of the UN did the same. The UN rolled out their new LRA strategy. 3 months later, the African Union did the same. They launched a regional task force. 4 months later, the European Union, which shows when the masses get behind something, change happens. Nick Kristof says this beautifully. In issues of social justice, the people lead and the leaders follow. That was our experience with Kony 2012. Now, naively, and especially if you followed the campaign at all, we actually printed on the poster one thing we can all agree on. That didn't exactly turn out to be the case. And I have one piece of advice if you're ever going to launch a film that goes to 100 million people in 6 days. Your PR team needs to be bigger than one intern. Honestly, we struggled to keep up with this campaign. For those that you saw, we struggled to address the 1,000 news stories being written about us every day. We struggled to explain to a lot of the people in the public what a NGO is, that staff members are paid, and that we pursue results more than we pursue percentages. And we struggled to answer a lot of the legitimate questions that go into international engagement, international dialogue, the hard questions of our role as global citizens but working in local communities. Those hard questions, we struggled to keep up with it. Nonetheless, we kept going. This generation is ready. It needs to look different. It needs to be inspiring. We need to lead with the values. That's why we use this language. Peace is a journey, justice is a promise. It needs to hit young people's hearts, grab their attention, and they will amaze you. We have been phenomenally amazed. So this is, in closing, this is our model: media, mobilization, protection, recovery. Invisible Children is a little unique in that we focus, and we have for 8 years now, exclusively on the LRA conflict. We move where it has moved, using this comprehensive model. Showing the story, mobilizing international resources, doing frontline protection efforts for communities that are facing violence, and then doing post-conflict recovery in the areas in which the violence has been, and we're close. LRA, 10 years ago, the LRA was at close to 3,000 fighters, now they're about 200. Killings have decreased 93% in the last 2 years. Abductions have declined 67% in the last 2 years, and now 2 countries are totally safe. But here's the point that I want to make. In a world where Joseph Kony's exist, in a world where 9 other ICC indictees exist, in a world where 600 million people don't have access to clean water, in a world where 1.2 billion people live in extreme poverty, we need more people on our team trying to tackle that. We need movement in the direction. We need to prove the universal through the specific, because there's nothing more motivating than progress. And as a result, my encouragement to either funders in this room or other organizations is just the following 3 things, very simple. Number 1 is to do that, we gotta take some risks and give startups a chance. Number 2, push for results and go deep. Those could be intention, but I think they make sense. When we see things that are working, fuel them, and put the resources there. And then 3rd, and I believe in this one the most passionately, bring this next generation with us. Teaching empathy, teaching compassion, teaching international development, teaching justice, teaching law. Those should be something that we do across the world all the time. And for our organization, we dream of the day where that gets to be our main job. For Invisible Children, we dream of the day when we're not having to wake up to the reports of the recent LRA attacks, but we get to focus our energy on telling stories and mobilizing mass amounts of young people around the world to come into this room 10 years from now and do a better job than we are.